Hey, welcome to GTC's Teaching Tidbits Blackboard Ultra. In this series, each episode, we explore a technique, tip, practice, or idea, or multiple ideas to expand your knowledge of and your comfort with using Blackboard Ultra. I'm joined today by Rebecca Roth from the Curriculum and Instructional Support Center, CISC for short. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, glad to be here.
I'm so thankful that you and Lee continue to agree to do these episodes. I think it ends up being very helpful for people to get a kind of snapshot preview of what are all the latest things that they might not even notice initially are now available to them in Blackboard. So in the previous episode, Lee and Rebecca gave us a little sneak peek at the new updates that have come this month, June 2023. So Rebecca is here to do a deep dive in and give us a picture, better understanding of what those updates are that we now have in Blackboard for, again, this month, June 2023. So Rebecca, I'm going to turn it over to you to share your teaching tidbits.
Okay, yeah, all right. So there are several new updates that are coming our way, or that have now come our way with the June update. There was the preview, like you mentioned, Rachel. There we go. That we went over last time. So this is just a quick overview, and then I'll go into detail about most of these. Some of them don't really require too much detail, but so one item is the ability to insert test questions from a text file, and that I'll go into a little bit more detail in just a minute. And then the announcements have now moved to the top navigation bar, and I'll have a screenshot for you guys. Next, we have some updates to the anonymous grading view for instructors. So if you add an exemption, you're able to now add an exemption to an assignment that has anonymous grading turned on before you go into that grading area. And so you're not worried about, you don't accidentally grade an exempted item. And then next we have the Gradebook Gridview is continuing to be updated with options from that Gridview. After that, we have the base calculation on points earned out of the total graded points. And this is for custom calculations. So you can do this for like a Blackboard assignment that you create in Blackboard. But if you create a custom column in the Gradebook, you now can choose this option, which is really great for those assignments that may not be graded out of 100 points. Those can sometimes mess up your Gradebook. So this allows you to grade on the, kind of create that percentage automatically. And then there's additional anonymous grading. Now you can apply the anonymous grading to tests. Before that, it was just to assignments. So now it's just kind of expanding. And then we are also seeing more of the list filter options that are showing up in the various types of assignments. Again, I'll go through each of these more in depth, and then lastly, the course links is a great new addition that I'll go into in more detail. So the first thing we have is the upload questions from a file to a test. And you can create the entire, like a new test as a TXT file, a tab delimited TXT file, and upload that into a Blackboard test. Or if you just have a few questions that you want to add in, you will add those questions in, much like you would, you'll add those in the same area where you would create that question. So you would scroll down and choose upload questions. The caveat to this is that it does have to be a plain text file. So this is not going to be something like what we see with Respondus, where you can create the test in Microsoft Word and then import it. So if you're familiar enough with downloading a sample file and then creating that test and pulling it back up into Blackboard, it's easy enough to do, but it's not quite what we're familiar with Microsoft Word. So I would say proceed with caution with this one. And at the time right now, we do still have Respondus 4.0 to bring a test out of Blackboard, make some edits, and then push it back into Blackboard. And right now, Lee and I both have agreed that that is still the best way for you guys to create the tests and upload tests, just simply for ease of use. And just kind of as a reminder, this is what we're looking at. Is the top part is the sample text file that Blackboard produced, and then I moved it into Excel. So it is easier if you're creating it to create in Excel and then export over to a TXT file. Make sure you choose tab delimited, and then you would upload this file here, not the Excel file, into Blackboard. And you can see here where it has all the different tabs and you tell it which type of question to create. And let me go back. So it is for primarily for multiple choice, true, false, essay, fill in the blank, multiple blanks, all of those. It's not going to be your image-based test questions or anything like that. And Lee and I will create some content over the summer before fall, of more how-to content to create these types of tests. All right, so next, most of you have probably already noticed this. The announcements have moved to the top navigation bar. And Rachel, as you and I were speaking earlier, this is actually really great because the top navigation is the primary navigation for both instructors and students, as opposed to the details and action area, which has a little bit more like businessy things and just links that you're not clicking on as frequently as you are up here at the top. So it's been a great move for everyone, and it stays there as you navigate through the course, that you can always get back to that announcements tab because it's permanent. Again, the anonymous grading updates, the support for anonymous grading of tests. So again, previously that was just for an option for assignments. Now you can set a test up that way. And you can add that exemption to, for whatever reason, you may need to exempt an assignment or a test for a student. And when you do that, that won't show up when you go into the grading, when you start grading those tests. Next, we have the Gridview. So last month, they added the exemptions option into the Gridview area. And now they've also added in the exceptions. So we will see this kind of grow over time. So they're just, each release has something more for this Gridview area that makes it a little bit more user-friendly for us instructors, and, without having to navigate all the way around. So. All right, the filter options that I mentioned before, we've seen this already in the gradable items, like in the assignments and tests. And so now you can use the filter options with journal entries. We don't yet have the sort option. You'll notice you don't have the arrows for that, at the top of the column. So that will be coming soon. But for now, you can sort by, the student status and the grading status within the journals. So that it's just, expanding over time. All right, so one of the last things that I'm really excited about is the course links option. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I did not like course links in Blackboard Original. I was not a fan. It messed up, they would break. Or what would happen is, previously in Original, if you had an assignment hidden, but then you had a course link to it, or if you hid the course link, but then you didn't hide the assignment, like they wouldn't match up. And so when we add these course links here, that visibility is going to copy forward, or it's going to link forward. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. But there are two places you can add course links. So the first one is if you just create an item in your course content page, so that main page, and you just add it the same way you would anything else. Now you have this link option over here. And then when you go into that page, right, up until now, you only had this web link option. So now you can click course link to change that. And then once you choose that, it will say new link. You don't have to edit this link name unless you just want to. The display name here for whatever assignment you choose, you can edit there. And I do recommend that you add the phrase link to in front of that so that you and the student know that this is a link, because especially for you or an adjunct, if you're working in a master course, you don't, yes, the availability can be edited from that link, but like the editing options for the course link are just for the course link. They are not going to edit any of the availability, the bigger availability or, grading policies, anything like that that you're adding into the actual assignment that needs to go through the assignment. So just keep that in mind. You may want to put the phrase link to, in here, I should have said link to module 5 assignment. And then there are 2 ways you can find the assignment that you will be searching for. So when you open it from here, you have to search for whatever it is you're linking from your course. So here I just typed in a keyword I wanted to find the museum search, but I could also choose, like here I chose journal, and it pulled up, in this particular course I only have 1 journal assignment, so I could find that journal assignment. And it will default to hidden from student unless you change that in this settings area. So keep in mind though that, again, if you change this course link, so it does have the little link icon. If you change this to visible, it will change the item to visible as well. So that's kind of showing here in this bit, I'm just showing where the 2 assignments are and how they will toggle out and back in both places. So that's the content area course linking. There, you do have the option to create a course link within a module. However, the only exception here is that you cannot link to a folder. Within a module, you can only link to an item or an assignment, a test. It cannot be a folder that has content inside of it. And that comes from the limits that we have with that breakdown of, how many levels down we can go within a module, and we are limited there. So if you're trying to link a folder in that module and you get an IPS page, that's what's happening. But you are able to link a folder at the module level, like at that main level. So that is, again, and this is just another video showing of me linking within a module. So you can do it in both places. All right, and once the student opens that link, it opens the assignment, but it doesn't navigate them away from where the course link is. So if you remember in original, when we clicked on a course link, it would jump you over to wherever the primary assignment was held. And so that could confuse students when we had content, in course content and assignments. It would, they would find themselves in a different part of Blackboard. That's no longer the case. All right, and I have an additional help page just as a reminder that we do have our LibGuide. We are keeping it up to date, and I just kind of landed here on our contact page, and you're welcome to contact any of us for any help. And that is everything for June.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Rebecca. I know as we were saying, I was very excited about the announcements now moving to that top navigation bar. But also I know several people who use course links when we were in original. And I remember hearing Lee even talk about discouraging it just because of the difficulties there. So It's good to hear that they're working in a much better way here in Ultra. And for those who wanted to use them, it's now there and available. a practical question, just as a reminder, because I think we have it in our Teaching with Blackboard course, but for those who are watching this, just as a reminder, when you're creating your modules, you mentioned limited, depth in terms of, so will you just remind us all what the limit is? Like how deep can you create, in a module?
So it's 3 levels deep, but that counts the module. So module is level 1. You can create folders within the module. You can put items in those folders, but you cannot put another folder in that folder. So it's, if you want to think about the module as the larger notebook,
yeah,
and then the folders are the tabs, and then you've got your inserts in those tabs. So we wouldn't want to put another folder inside. So it's 3 levels. And, that comes from, there's a lot of research behind it of, number of clicks for students, navigation, the organization of the course. It goes back to our course design standards, and really it's primarily there for ease of use for our students. We don't want them clicking 20 times to get to something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, great. Thank you for that reminder. I know it's been a while since we touched on that. So just a good thing to circle back around and refresh us on as well. And we'll put the link to the LibGuide in the description below the video so that people have easy access to that. And of course, Rebecca already said and welcomed you if you want to continue the conversation or you have further questions or need help. We've got Rebecca's contact here on the screen. Rebecca and Lee are the 2 main contacts. They're our Blackboard guru and Blackboard guru in training.
Yes.
So Lee has always been my go-to. And so I'm excited now that, Lee has you, Rebecca, also there as the next go-to as well. That'll maybe alleviate some of the load that he has.
We're growing school. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then of course you could reach out to CISC at their department email as well. Any one of the wonderful members of that team someone will get in contact with you and connect with you and help you with whatever those questions are. And so thank you, Rebecca, for being with us today and giving us those updates. As always, it's really helpful for us to learn a little bit more about that. And of course, if there are specific questions or topics regarding Blackboard Ultra that you would actually like to see featured, feel free to let me know. You can email me at rachel.cobb, rachel.cobb at gvltec.edu, and I will arrange for us to have some episodes that focus more in depth on some of those topics, either in this series or we might punt it to our regular GTC Teaching Tidbits series, but we'll be happy to make sure we cover those. Well, that's it for this episode of GTC Teaching Tidbits Blackboard Ultra, and we will see you next month for the next set of updates.